I'm Tracy and welcome to the With Tracy podcast. My first thought when writing the intro for today's guest was, whoa, where do I start? From being a successful actor across TV, film and stage to being an accomplished blogger, travel, lifestyle writer, reporter and filmmaker. And then throwing in some entrepreneurial activity by launching not one, but 3 businesses. And of course, that's only the tip of the iceberg. I am super excited to be chatting with the ultra talented and multi-entrepreneur, Stephanie Drax. Currently, she's managing VisionAir City Guides, StorytellHers, and her most recent project has been to launch Leapfrog Remedies. It's the UK's first Lactoferrin brand that launched in 2020 with an immune support supplement called Leapfrog IMMUNE. It's being hailed in the press as well as by customers as the go-to natural remedy for fighting off cold and flu symptoms, rebalancing the gut and supporting our immune system. As one journalist wrote, "Meet Leapfrog, the supplement brand taking the health world by storm." Whoa, so much to talk about. I'm already thinking Stephanie's story could be serialized. I'm delighted to welcome Stephanie Drax to the With Tracy podcast. Thank you, my dear, so much for being on the show today. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Tracy. What an introduction. Thank you. It's great to be on your show.
Well, gosh, you've done so much. You really have. But I always like to kind of start off so the listeners kind of get a bit of background about my guest. So where did it all start for you before the work thing? Who is Stephanie?
Well, I guess my early childhood was spent traveling a lot. So then it might not surprise people to know that I then became a travel journalist, travel writer. I was born in Paris. We lived in the UK, in Canada, in Argentina. So, you know, I remember my parents very much with a guidebook in their hands all the time. And we were sort of carted around various cities around the world. And I just loved it. All the different cultures and foods and people that we met. And so I always had an interest, a curiosity, I suppose, from a very, very young age. And so when I fell into travel writing later on, I mean, it was a dream come true. So yeah, no, that was my sort of early upbringing. And then I went to Edinburgh, where I sort of caught the acting bug in a way. I was involved in a comedy group, believe it or not. 2 of them went on to be in The Office, actually. And that's where I sort of fell in love with acting, and then went to drama school and then started spinning that plate. And then a friend gave me an opportunity to work at the Telegraph. So I really managed to cut my teeth in the journalism. And that was it. I was really spinning both those careers I have been spinning both of those careers for much of my life.
Yeah, wow. So can I ask you then, did you have a preference? Because I was thinking it all sounds very glamorous. But I know these things, you know, aren't necessarily, but you sort of think of celebrity and, you know.
Did I have I mean, they are both incredible careers. I mean, people say to me, travel writer, that's like the dream job. And it really is. I mean, I have literally been given the keys to sacred places. Gaudi's crypt in Barcelona, Sagrada Familia, which he was the architect for. I mean, literally we were taken into the sacred place where, you know, people don't often get to go. You know, traveling around Japan with the man who wrote Memoirs of a Geisha, having tea with a Maiko, a trainee geisha. These are things that don't happen very often. And I felt incredibly privileged to have those experiences. And then, yes, I've got the acting side. And yeah, there have been a lot of moments of no glamour, I can tell you. Mostly no glamour, but definitely some pinch myself moments. I was in A Few Good Men, a play at the Haymarket, and Rob Lowe was playing the Daniel Kaffee role, that Tom Cruise role. I mean, I spent 4.5 months looking at one of the most good-looking men on the planet. He's only got better looking as he's got older. So that was an absolute dream. And then I got the chance to play Hedda Gabler with Benedict Cumberbatch, and I was actually understudying, and she became unwell, or she got knocked off her bike, actually. She hit her head, and so she wasn't able to go on for 10 performances, and she was very, very kind and gracious and sent me flowers and said, good luck. It's Eve Best. She's a fantastic actress. But no, I went on stage and I played Hedda Gabler, which is like the female Hamlet. And there I was opposite Benedict Cumberbatch on stage thinking, what am I doing here? But that was amazing. I mean, even just thinking about it now, I can barely breathe with the fear and excitement of it all. So no, I can't say which I've preferred. They've both been magical.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, look, then we're going to move on because we're going to talk a bit of business. But you went on to start VisionAir City Guides, which have kind of given us a little background, probably why you went into doing that. But I know that you're currently going to wind that up. And I just wondered what took you down that route, and also how that decision to wind it up has come about. Because I mean, that's quite a big thing, isn't it, to step away from a business?
Absolutely. So how that came about was I was in my capacity as a travel journalist. I was going to Dubai and thinking to myself, I've got some meeting with an important gentleman there. Do I shake his hand or not shake his hand? I'm a woman. Am I supposed to or not? And I thought, if I'm thinking, what's the cultural etiquette? Maybe other people on this flight are, and there's nothing here to tell me what to do, and I'm almost there. So I thought, let's marry together the journalism and the film making. And I created a series of city guide films that give you an insight into the culture, the customs, the courtesies of that city that you're about to land in. Just 5-minute bite-sized video with incredible footage that gives you that information in text. And I mean, I traveled around the world making these guides, from Cape Town to Tokyo, to Rio, Toronto, New York, all over the place. And it was really exciting. They got picked up by British Airways, Singapore Airlines, American Airlines, Aer Lingus, everywhere. So it was really, really exciting. And I loved it. Again, mixing travel now and film, it was a wonderful blend for me. But knowing when to retire it, I mean, I'd say that is one of the biggest lessons one can learn as an entrepreneur. You could be trying to fit a square peg into a round hole for a really long time because, you love that square peg. You've nurtured that square peg and it will fit, but actually you really need to know when it's not going to, because perhaps the next thing that you move on to, it will fit that much more easily, or it will be a perfect fit. So let's not waste too much time on something. If there is something else out there that you could apply yourself to that could be a greater success. And I think, the thing with airlines is, they don't have big budgets, and it was always a bit of a, grappling on the price, and it's quite expensive to produce, and how do I scale it? And I was starting, as much as I loved it, it was a passion project of mine. How was I really going to scale this thing? And I guess the crunch time came when my husband showed me some videos that Aer Lingus had made. Actually, I think I'd made the decision to stop it anyway. COVID came about. Yeah. Airlines weren't in the sky anymore. So I sort of thought, what? I feel like this has come to a natural conclusion. And then my husband showed me some videos that he had recorded on a flight, an Aer Lingus flight to New York. And bearing in mind, Aer Lingus was one of my customers. And they were videos made in-house by Aer Lingus, and they looked like mine. I mean, they hadn't copied me, but they had made their own, and they were beautiful. They had they'd done a great job. And I thought, okay. This concept is now being done by other people, and probably even better. So I think this is it. I think I'll just, I've had a great time. Now I'll just lay it to rest. And actually, it was perfect timing because I'd already tried Lactoferrin by this point.
So it's
the hero ingredient of my next business.
Yes, but before we get on to that, I just want to ask you about Storytellers, because that's basically a sort of lifestyle blog, isn't it, that you set up with your great friend Rowan Evans. So how did that one come about?
Well, Rowan and I were in an antenatal classes. We met each other in antenatal classes, and obviously got chatting, and then the babies were born, and we were chatting and chatting as new mums do, over lots of cups of coffee and cake. And she works in digital marketing, but had experience at the BBC as well. So there was lots of synergy there. We had similar interests, and we both said, look, we're privileged enough to meet so many incredible women, whether they're, you know, a founder of a company or they've created something, women who have something to say. And if only we could, you know, have a platform somewhere to put these stories, these female narratives, female brands, founded brands. And that's how Storytellers came about. And it's been another passion project for the two of us. And I've absolutely loved it. I mean, I've focused less on it recently, but it's not even dormant, but it's slightly resting. And I actually just interviewed somebody recently, and so I will be putting something on there. It's something I wouldn't want to retire. I absolutely love it, and will definitely continue with it, even if I haven't been able to give it as much time and attention recently as I'd like to.
Oh no, I think it's a great platform. I really do, and I would encourage anyone to go and take a look, because you've got some great pieces up there. You really do. And as you say, a lot of female, you know, business women, or, you know, lifestyle tips. But it's, yeah, honestly, I love it. It's great.
You're one of our interviewees, Tracy, of course.
Well, I am. A while ago, I was, yes.
Well, thanks so much for saying that. I've really enjoyed it. So
no, it's great. So look, I'm really excited now. We're going to talk about Leapfrog and Immune. And for those who can't see us, I actually do have a box here. So please, you should all log on to YouTube, and then you can actually see it. Now, I want to just quote you here, because you said, wiping two noses 12 times a day with patience and sympathy is tedious. I quote that because you say that's kind of one of your inspirations behind that. Now, I know there's a lot more behind this, and I'm going to give you some time now to tell us about Leapfrog and Immune.
I mean, well, you're absolutely right. That is exactly where it started, with my children's basically wiping of their noses. I mean, I have two boys, and at the time they were both at nursery, which, as we know, is a petri dish for germs. And so they were coming home with so many coughs and colds, and it seemed sort of just incessant. And I remember speaking to a nutritionist and saying, what can I do to stop this? In fact, I want to write an article for Storytellers on how I can alleviate, you know, these kids' coughs and colds coming home, giving it to us. It's just a merry-go-round in our family. And she suggested kefir, and I made kefir, and then I was, you know, talking to a scientist about what he thought, and I'll never forget the words he said. He said, kefir is all well and good, Stephanie, but if you really want to stop a cold in its tracks, you want to try Lactoferrin. I haven't had a cold in 30 years. So I scratched down that name, and, you know, curious journalist that I am, a few days later, I managed to, you know, get a sample, and it arrived, and this is the very fine pink powder. It's a bit like icing sugar. And I opened it, and my husband said, what is that? And he knows I'm always trying weird and wonderful things for my journalism. So I said, well, apparently this cures the common cold. And he went, oh, yeah, right. Okay, I'll give it a go too. And I mean, long story short, it worked, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked. We took it at the very first sign of a sniffle, scratchy throat. For me, it's always swelling glands. And, you know, very often we wake up the next day and the symptoms would have disappeared, or at least, you know, or they might have, at least the symptoms would have been much reduced, and the duration of the cold much shorter. I mean, we've been around long enough to know how we react when there's a cold, and how deeply we nosedive. And this was very different for me and for my husband. And I took lots of notes. And then I stopped taking notes. And then I was looking online, who else is making this? Nobody else was making it. And my husband was like, we've run out. When are we getting more? I said, well, I can't get more. It's from the manufacturer. It's a sample. He's like, whoa. So I'm going to have to make it myself. So that's what I did. I made a Lactoferrin supplement. That's where it all started.
Wow. Now, I know that you do also work with a lot of experts, don't you? When you go onto your website, there's a list of experts. How, because I'm really intrigued. Okay, you come across this, ingredient, if you like, and you're taking it and you're having amazing results. But it's a big step to go, okay, I'm going to make that myself, and then actually go and find people that you want to work with or to get their expertise, and know that they're people that you can trust as well. I mean,
it's a big step. It's like a marathon. I mean, if I look back at what I had to learn and what I had to do and who I had to meet in order to do what I've done to actually have that box that you've held up, I get tired thinking about it. But because you can't believe how much there is to do. But actually, when you're doing it, it is just one foot in front of the other. The first thing to do was to, as you say, find the experts. I read a lot. I went onto a resource called PubMed, where all peer-reviewed scientific studies are. And these are the top-notch ones, the ones that they don't get on there unless there's, unless there is truth to them and they're well-researched. And I read, and I read, and I read, and I read. And a name kept popping up. Dr. Marian Krusel, he's an immunologist at the University of Texas, and he's worked with Lactoferrin for 35 years and has written many of these studies. And I called him up and I said, Dr. Krusel, am I crazy? I want to create a supplement with Lactoferrin. Tell me I'm crazy. And he said, you're not. He said, you absolutely should, because he said it is extraordinary stuff. And so I asked him to be on my team, and he was the first one to join, and he's been incredible, an incredible guide. And then I was very lucky to meet a few other people who've been instrumental in me making this a reality. The nutritionist, Emma Davies, who is a friend, and she's one of the only people I know who, when I said to her, thinking about doing a supplement with Lactoferrin, she said, oh yes, the iron binding glycoprotein. Oh, it has so many benefits. And she went, no. I said, right, you're on my team. That's number 2 taken care of. And then a pharmaceutical scientist at the University of Huddersfield, and then the wonderful Renee Elliott. It was just such serendipity that a friend of mine said, you need a mentor through this process. And I know Renee Elliott. I'm going to introduce the two of you and see if perhaps she might be a guiding light for you. And I was so lucky. I told her the concept. She said, I'm on board, off we go. And she has been like my fairy godmother.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, that is so great. But I mean, I think it says a lot about you too, Stephanie, because a lot of people, they have ideas, but to follow that through, do the research, which I was going to ask you about in a way as well, because I guess a lot of research had already been done on Lactoferrin, or was there quite a lot of lead time to sort of finish off that research before you literally came up with that?
I mean, so I did my own personal research first, myself and my husband. It was an Excel spreadsheet, and it took a few months. I really wanted to be sure that it wasn't a coincidence. Once I realized that it had helped with my colds so consistently over such a period of time, I mean, it was a few months, it was 3 or 4 months before I made the decision to take the plunge. And then, yes, there is this wealth of research that's online. But what I was surprised about was that it wasn't already available as a supplement in this country, or no brands that I could find. So the very first thing I did actually was to call the European Food Standards Association, because the last thing I wanted to do was make a very expensive mistake and then get told I wasn't allowed to have this supplement here. That's why nobody's made it. So I phoned them up and I said, is there any reason why I can't? And they said no. And I said, well, why has it not been done here before? So there is one reason why potentially why it hadn't been put onto the European a register of what a novel or non-novel food. And that was a mistake, an error, an oversight, and I got that rectified. So,
oh wow.
But I'm not sure if anybody had tried to before and that had been a stumbling block, because they might well have done it themselves, got over that hurdle themselves. But the fact is, the landscape was sort of uncharted here, and it hadn't been explored, and I was, you know, really excited to be the first one to do it.
Totally. And could you just give the listeners, please, just a little bit of what is Lactoferrin and why is it so great?
And this is it. I mean, a wonderful opportunity to introduce a brand, but also a great challenge to explain to everybody what Lactoferrin is from the very, very beginning. And essentially, what's so exciting about this powder is, or this protein, is that we make it every day. It's in your body right now. It's in your eyes, your nose, your mouth. It's in your bodily secretions. And its job is to neutralize viruses or bacteria as they try to enter the body at these points.
Wow.
It's also stored in some white blood cells in your body that travel to the site of the infection if it manages to get in, and burst open and try to quash the infection, burst open and release lactoferrin then and quash the infection. So it has so many functions in the body. I did a webinar yesterday, actually, 2 nutritionists with my nutritionist, Emma Davies. And I mean, 32 slides on all the things that it can do in your body. It starts to sound like, you know, crazy, but it is known as the Swiss Army knife of the human host defense system. So the point is, we make it ourselves. Yeah. The second thing that I find fascinating is that it's the key component of mother's milk. So when I breastfed my babies, they didn't get sick. But as soon as I stopped breastfeeding, they got everything going. And I think that's pretty common. And the reason is because in this magical cocktail called mother's milk, lactoferrin is there to build a baby's immune system. So it is an extraordinarily important key component of breast milk. Now, where does it come from? We're not taking it from breast milk. We're taking it from cow's milk, which is biologically very similar to human milk. It's the same concept, right?
Yeah.
So this lactoferrin is extracted from the cow's milk, and it comes from our lactoferrin comes from cows on a family farms, no more than 50 cows per farm, in a cooperative of farms in northern France. I chose this one very, very specially. And it's very pure, and it has all of the activity that you would want it to have. So when you put lactoferrin into your body as a supplement, your body recognizes it. It's like putting extra recruits in when you need it most. That's why when you take it at the first sign of a sniffle, scratchy throat, something's got inside you. But what the extra lactoferrin does is stop the virus from getting into healthy cells. So you get this wave of extra recruits, and then you can quash the infection and give your body the time it needs to mobilize itself against the infection. So that's why I feel it's superior to anything like echinacea or elderberry or those things that we love and have relied on for so long, which are fantastic, these plant-based remedies. But I think lactoferrin has the edge because, well, we make it already. We make it ourselves, so your body recognizes it. It's working in sync with your body.
Oh, I just think it's incredible. I mean, I have to say, I'm a convert, and I was talking to a nutritionist friend the other day, and I'm overexcited about having you here and talking about lactoferrin, and she went mad. She went, oh my God, lactoferrin is just the most amazing thing. And she just went into it, and I was like, whoa, okay. So, yeah, so I just would like to say, everybody's listening to this podcast or watching it, you must check out lactoferrin. It really is as good as Stephanie and so many other people are saying it is. I mean, yeah, so I guess it's watch this space, Stephanie, to see.
Well, and what we did was, I think what's really important is we took this incredible ingredient, what's called a miracle molecule. We took it and we put it into a chewable tablet.
Yes.
With zinc and vitamin C. I mean, everybody will know when they get a cold, you want to take on extra zinc and vitamin C. That's, you know, there are numerous studies about those two things. So therefore, we've got this sort of trio of immune supporting heroes when you need it most. And it's in this chewable form, which for us is really important because we believe that the action starts in the mouth, in the epithelial cells that line the mouth. So we feel like it's even more effective when it's absorbed then through the mouth.
Well, and I guess also that means it's great for kids because, you know, there's nothing worse than trying to get a child to swallow something. And, you know, many adults, me included, some of the supplements you get are enormous and there is no way you can swallow them whole. I mean, it just feels, you look at it and you think, oh, no, I can't. Yeah. I'm busy grinding things up, or, you know, but these are really easy to take, and they taste great as well. So
my kids were my chief taste testers. Are you kidding me? They were like, what is that? We're all over it. So they tasted them and, you know, they loved them. And I can't tell you how many times they say, Mummy, I've got a sniffle. Mummy, I want some Leapfrog. So yeah, they've been very important in the formulation. But also it's just super convenient, you know. If that box is really slimline, you can pop it into your handbag or your pocket if you're going to an event and there are going to be loads of people around, and the chance of being coughed on or spluttered on, or you're going on a flight, you know, this is the time to have it in your handbag and just pop one and chew it, and that's it. You don't need any water, you know, no big pills to swallow that are really uncomfortable. You just chew it and go. Super simple.
So I just wanted to ask you as well, from a business perspective, what kind of marketing did you decide to do? Because, I mean, there's so much work goes into actually producing this, you know, as you say, all your research and then actually getting that to market or get it in the box. I just wondered how you went about that.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways in which one can market, and many of them cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a fledgling brand, very much, you know, bootstrapped. And so I have had to be very, very savvy with my spend. So first things first, I'm a journalist myself. So I wrote to every journalist that I know, every editor that I know. And I said, you know, at the very, very outset, can I send you something? Please just try it. Just wait till you get the first sign of a cold and try it and tell me what you think. So that was great. I got some fantastic endorsements early on, some lovely pieces of coverage. Then I kind of couldn't do it myself. So I found a really lovely PR, Holly Stevens at Stevens PR, who jumped on the bandwagon with me. And we got some lovely glossy magazine features and things. And, you know, it's different. It's interesting. I know from a journalistic perspective, it's like, oh, what is that? Something new. Yeah. So that was really great. The other thing, of course, is influencers. And, you know, I spoke to an influencer's agent at the beginning to sort of find out, you know, how much it cost if I wanted to go down that road. And I nearly choked on how much it can cost for a box to be held up. And so I said to myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find the influencers, and I mean wellness experts. I don't mean influencers. I mean people who really know their stuff and are passionate about wellness and do their research and really like the science. These are the ones that I need to meet. So Liz Earle was top of the list.
Oh, and my dear friend.
that didn't take long to think of her. And so I sent it through to her team and I said, please just wait till you feel a cold coming on and then take Leapfrog. And I really, you don't need to say anything or do anything, even if it takes months, I don't mind. Then you will know how differently that cold plays out, and you will know that it's working, how it works. And I sent it to her team in September, and in December, I got a message from them saying, Liz would like to invite you to an Insta Live in February. It will be going into her magazine. And I leapt for joy. And when I went on the Liz Earle Wellbeing, you know, Insta Live with her, the sales just, you know, went through the roof. She has such an ardent following. because she really does do her research and she really does care, and she only promotes brands that she really, really, really believes in. So, I mean, all the groundwork had been done. So by the time I was there sitting opposite her and on this Insta Live with however many hundreds of people watching, you know, that was it. I had an absolutely captive audience because they adore her. And I had an opportunity to talk to them as passionately as I am right now to you about this incredible protein and what I believe now is a really game-changing supplement, Leapfrog. And I mean, it was fantastic for the business. It was a pivotal moment for Leapfrog Remedies. And so then I thought, well, I need to do that again. You know, it's about finding the right people, and just, there is such a difference, I think, between paying somebody to say, I love this, and then having somebody try it, experience it for themselves and say, I really love this.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. And so I went for the latter, and it's definitely been a slower process, but I think it's just more genuine.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think people realize that today as well, you know, and having known Liz for many, many years and worked with her, she's a dear friend, but she absolutely, you know, will only sort of back things that she has absolutely researched, and she definitely knows her stuff. So yeah, you did strike gold there. It was great. Now I'm going to just change the emphasis slightly. I know that
Completely.
you interviewed recently on the Hungry podcast, and it's all about that kind of life-work balance. And, you know, you wearing many hats, and now obviously with this kind of business taking off, I just wondered how you manage that. Do you?
It's really, really, really hard. And like I said to Dan on the Hungry podcast, it's like doing brain jiu-jitsu, because I might be sitting building a tower with my son, but at the same, I'm having a conversation with him, but at the same time, I'm having a conversation with myself about, you know, when I need to order the next batch of, you know, stock, am I low, who do I need to talk to, and blah, 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 blah. So I've got two conversations going on, one live and one internal all the time. So it's like multitasking to the extreme. It's like octo mum, you know, an octopus. But I try to draw boundaries. And so, for example, if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm really, you know, intently working on something, and my son comes up to me and he sort of nudges up beside me because he wants to have a cuddle, I will just push the computer away, pick him up, and just cuddle him and kiss him, because this won't last for very long. So I think, you know, I have to get my priority. I love my business, of course I do, but, you know, I don't want to miss this. So I'm really, I try to switch to mum in those sorts of moments. But my kids are really understanding and really on board with it. It's making me think of a story when I was crossing the road with my kids coming back from the park the other day, and I don't have a nanny. I try to do it all myself, and do my work during school hours. And I'd taken them to the park after school, and we were coming back home. We're standing at the lights. Both my sons are on their bikes, and there's a woman standing there waiting with us. And my son looks up at her, and he goes, "Do you want to buy mummy's pills?" I stood there being, I was so, enchanted by my son touting Leapfrog Remedies to a complete stranger on the sidewalk, but then also extremely embarrassed. But, they know how Leapfrog is really part of my identity, and they know how hard I've worked at it. And so, they're on the journey with me.
So great. That is so great. I love that story. I really, really do. And of course, they're so full of energy and vibrant because they take Leapfrog. So they're never sick. I'm sure your boys are all boundless energy and fun. And
yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think we've leapfrogged over so many coughs and colds in our house now because of it. So
yeah. Now, there must be times you do get overwhelmed. I mean, there's with so much to do. And I just wondered, how do you deal with that? And, how do you take time out from all those things, the leapfrog and the acting and everything else that you're doing?
I think, this year has obviously taught us all the importance of self-care. I think we were all on a treadmill that we were just all of us going way too fast. And I think we were forced to go a lot slower in the last year. And I think it's been really useful for many of us. And so I'm not good at it because I also love what I do. So it's not a great chore to, have dinner with my husband once I put the kids to bed and then go back to my desk until, 10:30, 11 o'clock, because I love what I'm doing and, what more can I do and what more can I learn about? And, there's always lots to do, but I love it. But I mean, I was saying to my husband today, it's Friday night, fantastic. We can watch something on TV. I don't watch any TV between Sunday and that following Friday, because the work is all in the week. And I try to keep the weekends as they should be, just for family. But it's hard. I'm talking a lot about immunity and how we need to look after ourselves. This is on I do lots of Insta lives with experts in stress and nutrition and exercise and sleep. So I know that these are the 4 pillars that we need in order to stay well and healthy. So I have to try and adhere to them myself. But I just did a wonderful Insta live with a man called Alan Dolan, who's known as the breath guru. And I've had a few sessions with him now, and one-to-one, and then on this Insta live. And all it takes is 10 minutes before I get into bed. I go to bed 10 minutes early. And I do it's free. It's on his app. So I encourage anybody to have a look. Breath Guru. You download his app and you get this 10-minute guided breath session. And my God, does it make a difference? My fingers tingle at the end of it. And actually, when we did the live, somebody wrote in the comments, "Why are my fingers tingling? This is quite weird." And he said it's because you're kind of plugged into the mains of like nature and energy, and you're breathing, and you're just, because we breathe so badly, and this is a lesson that we all need to learn, and it helps me sleep so much better. So I feel like doing this breath work is kind of like an all-in-one sort of quick solution, something that you can add to your day pretty easily without it taking up too much time and you needing too much equipment or whatever. You don't need anything, just yourself and 10 minutes, and I just feel fantastic and I sleep so much better. So that's sort of my self-care all in that 10 minutes.
I have to agree with you. I've been doing that breathing, and it is and just taking time, I think, to breathe and think about your breath. And you're absolutely right. I can kind of start my day feeling, oh my God, I've got so much to do, and already feel that I'm wound up. And then I stop and I'll breathe, and I might even do my stretches with my breathing, but you feel completely different afterwards. It is a revelation, actually. So I'm with you on that one. I recommend anyone trying that. Now we're getting to the end of the interview, Stephanie. Thank you so much. There's a couple of questions I'd like to ask you. I mean, I'd like to know what your major challenges have been. I'm sure you've kind of covered some of them, but I just wondered if there's one or two setting up a business that you would sort of say, yeah, that was a real challenge.
Well, I would say it's all been a challenge. I mean, learning, what margins are, when you're approaching retailers, what margins I want to get, how to build a spreadsheet, or, I haven't known what to do at every stage of this business. So I've needed to call people, write to people. Can you give me 10 minutes? Can you give me half an hour of advice, of help? Can you help me build my spreadsheet? I have asked for a lot of help and advice, and I would say to anybody who wants to start their business, it's amazing how generous people will be with their time if you ask them politely and you do what you can in return. And I'm now helping other people who've come to me, and you sort of, you pay it forward. But, I haven't had many of the skills to do what I've done. So let this be a lesson to anybody who thinks, oh, I couldn't possibly. Yes, you can. What you really need is a load of tenacity, which I have. I just think if there's a hurdle, I think, okay, right, there's a hurdle. I'm going to cry about it. I'm going to get over it. And then I'm going to get round it. How do I get round it? And that's tenacity. I was born with that. I just think it's just forward propulsion. I just try to keep moving forward all the time. And if you have, and that's the one thing that's obviously got me around all the skills that I don't have. So ask for help, and then also just, don't give up.
Okay, so you probably answered my last question, which I always like to ask somebody, what their piece of advice would be. So I'm guessing you're going to say, is it don't give up?
No, I would, yes, I can see that could be the answer to that, but I would say something else as well, which is, I think before you start a business, you've got to know what pain point you're going to solve. And one thing it's to know, where you fit in that marketplace, who your competitors are going to be, and what's your USP? I was asked that a lot at the beginning. What's your USP? I'm like, nobody else is doing anything with Latte Ferran. That's my USP. But what are you doing that's different to your competitors? That's really important. But the driving force then is that you believe in your business. Because I believe so much in this protein that I can talk the hind ear off a donkey on this subject, because I believe it is so important. It's such a key ingredient, and it can make such a difference. And my energy when I'm talking about it, it just can't be denied. So therefore there's a story that you're telling, and people believe you because you believe it.
Yes.
There's a brilliant book by Yuval Noah Harari called Sapiens. It's one of his early books. And he said that's why we as a species were successful, because we had this ability to tell stories. When you hand a 10-pound note over to somebody, they believe that there's 10 pounds, that has the value of 10 pounds. It's just a piece of paper. But the fact is, we as human, as our species, Homo sapiens, believe in these stories about the stock market or about cash or whatever it is, we believe them. So the power of storytelling is absolutely massive. So when I sit down and I talk about Lactoferrin, I believe this story so much, and therefore the person who's hearing it really believes it. So I would say, if you're going to start a business, make sure that you're solving a pain point, because then you will believe your story and people will believe you.
Yes, totally. I totally agree with you. And that's why I think it's always important to do that, to get your USP, but also your whole brand thing, because I think that starts to tell the story visually as well as all your key messaging. But before you go, I just want to ask just one final thing. I just wondered, the future for Leapfrog, can you share anything? Are there going to be more products? You can just say yes or a no, or
Yes, there definitely will be more products. I have a whole range in mind. There's so much I would love to do with it. I mean, there's a point that I haven't made that I think is, so important, and I feel like I really want to get it in there, and maybe that's, this is part of this answer to this question, but it's just also the community building. The fact is, so many people have believed my story and have bought Leapfrog and then have come back. So many people have #taken the leap. And I am so grateful to them. And then that they've come back, and I've called them sometimes and I've said, look, you bought a few times, what do you think? And they've told me their experiences. And, people say, build a tribe, make a community. I mean, I really, really, really know my customers. I know them by name. I know where they live. I mean, I pass a town and I think, oh, I've got a Leapfrog customer there when I'm on the motorway. I really want to nurture this community of people that I have, who have been so kind and come on this journey with me. So I think together we are going to decide what the future holds for Leapfrog. I'm listening to what everybody is telling me, what they would like. Some people are saying, I've been taking Leapfrog and I've noticed this effect. And I've said to them, yes, that is another benefit of Leapfrog. oh, that's really interesting. And so it's helping me to slowly consider, you know, what have been the other great benefits to Lactoferrin, and how can I then work those into a formulation maybe with other goodies that might benefit more people. So yes, I love that it's a work in progress with the community of leapfroggers. Doesn't sound very sexy, leapfroggers, but with the community that I've built over the last year.
Stephanie, can you just let the listeners know exactly how they can find you or find IMMUNE?
Yes, so you can buy Leapfrog directly from our website, which is leapfrogremedies.com, or we are in Selfridges online, the drugstore, which is thedrug.store, Next, we're online at Next, also Amrita Nutrition or the Supplement Hub, same company, or Revital is our latest stockist. And they have them in store at the King's Road and in Hampstead.
And people can follow you on Instagram. You do Instagram lives, don't you?
Yes. Oh, please do follow us on Instagram. It's at Leapfrog Remedies. And we'd love, you know, to engage with you on there, of course, and hear any of your feedback about any experiences that you've had taking Leapfrog. It's all, you know, just gold dust for us to hear how everybody's getting on. And as I said, you know, I'm interviewing lots of experts in sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management. So do check in and on some of those interviews. We'd love to have you there.
Well, Stephanie, it's been a brilliant story. It's a brilliant product, and you've been a brilliant guest. Thank you so much for joining me on with Tracy today. I know everyone's going to really, really love listening to you and hearing all about Leapfrog and IMMUNE, and I again urge everyone to just go out and try it. So thank you, and please come back maybe in 6 months and come and tell us, you know, update us on what you're up to and all the new products. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
And thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to tell everybody about my most favorite subject, Lactoferrin and Leapfrog. Thank you, Tracy. It's been such fun.